Hello and welcome to another episode of Contemporary Living. You know what, Andre? Every time I hear that intro music, I'm from Chicago, so I love house
Yeah, we
music.
know.
So I always just want to go. But we thank you for joining us, and we're going to not keep you waiting. We're going to get started with those housekeeping notes.
Yeah, so we're gonna start off with our housekeeping notes. Welcome to Contemporary Living, where we provide lifestyle solutions for everyday people. And if you would like to come on our show, if you got any questions, you can always email us at farminghill@gmail.com. So this is a good avenue to reach out to us if you want to be a guest on our show, or if you have any questions you would like to ask us. Also, if you're on Facebook, if you're watching us on Facebook right now, please share this live actually show that we have tonight, and share with your family and friends, and please hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Contemporary Living with Farming Hill. Also, we're currently broadcasting live on E360 television. We're broadcasting now across the world, so you can always download the E360 app. You can download it on Roku. You can do it on the Amazon Fire Stick, as well as Apple TV as well. And don't forget, if you're in the Chicagoland area, you can catch our show Contemporary Living each and every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on Comcast Channel 19. So we're going to jump right into it because we got a power-packed show tonight. Melissa, I'm going to pass it back over to you.
All right. So one of the things we always say, our motto is providing lifestyle solutions for everyday people.
Yes.
On this segment of It's Your Money, we are going to talk about financial literacy. All right. Show that next slide, Andre.
All right.
All right. So what is financial literacy? So financial literacy is the ability to understand and effectively use different financial skills and concepts to make informed decisions about your personal financial management of savings, budgeting, spending, investing, attaining, and maintaining financial wealth. I think it's funny because we use money every day.
Yes.
We use money every day, but we don't know how to effectively use our money. And so we are in crisis for financial literacy. And I'm going to just show you some of the stats that we have. So America is struggling with financial literacy, you guys. So number one, 53% of adults are financially stressed. So that means they have no financial peace. These are the top 10 from OpLoan. Number two, 2 of 3 families lack an emergency fund, hence why they're financially stressed, because if an emergency comes up, they have no money to take care of it. Number 3, 78% of adults live paycheck to paycheck. And I've been a part of that.
Yes.
I've been a part of that statistic as well, living paycheck to paycheck, but there is a better way. Number 4, 3 of 5 adults don't keep a budget. So you don't even know where your money is going. And that's crucial in attaining financial wealth. Number 5, 4 of 5 youths fail financial literacy quizzes. So not only do the adults not know it, the kids aren't learning. Number 6, 27 states scored C, D, or F for high school financial literacy. That means they're not teaching the kids to understand it. Number 7, 54% of millennials are worried about student loans. And I'm worried for millennials because they're in debt even before they get their career started. And that's serious. That's serious.
Wow.
Number 8, 60% of adults have credit card debt. I've been a victim of that too. That credit card debt is very serious.
Yes.
Number 9, 4 of 5 adults experience barriers to home ownership. And some of the barriers to home ownership is debt, pre-existing debt, your credit score, different things like that. Those are barriers to home ownerships, and that's one of the goals a lot of adults have. And then last but not least, fewer than 1 of 5 adults is they're actually aren't confident in their savings because they're not saving. You can go to the next slide, sweetheart.
All right.
So that's what it is. So what I've done is try to find some resources that you can use to get started on your way to financial literacy. We are in an emergency crisis, and I want to really emphasize that. So you've got Dave Ramsey podcast, you've got 2 Cents on YouTube. There's another slide.
Okay.
You can also go to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau for consumer education. And then also banks, they have online information and events. So these are some free resources that you can go to use.
Oh,
Mhm.
I appreciate it.
Yep. Oh, and last but not least, our native,
Yes.
Kanye West. Having money isn't everything. Not having it is, because you know how you feel when you can't take care of your family, when you're living from paycheck to paycheck, when
Yeah.
you got more month than money in your pocket. That's a profound statement that Mr. West made.
All right, so we appreciate that
Thank
financial
you.
literacy. I hope that our viewers go check out Dave Ramsey. He gives a lot of information on financial
Hmm.
wealth as well.
Yep.
And so now we want to just going to jump over to so me and Melissa, our lifestyle has changed over the last month.
Woo, Lord.
Yes. So we have become what they call minimalists. So people want to know what is a minimalist. So I kind of I posted up here what a minimalist is. And it means living with the things you really need. It means removing anything that distracts us from living with intentionality and freedom. So we really started our journey. So some years ago, we started watching Dave Ramsey.
Right.
And one of the things Dave Ramsey talked about was becoming debt free. So we worked on getting rid of a lot of debt, alleviating a lot of debt and stuff like that. So what we did also, we decided that we like to travel, and we wanted to live a life where we can travel, during the winter months and be in the Chicago area during the summer months.
Right.
So what we did was we decided that we had took some of our properties, and what we did, we Airbnb'd out a couple of our properties, and then another property, our 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom, we actually rented out
Hmm.
to give us that lifestyle that we wanted, because we got tired of the everyday life, going to work 40 hours a week or more,
Yeah.
and then on the weekends you relax, then Monday you're back to the same thing.
Yeah.
So me and Melissa, we love to travel, we love to be on the road. So what we did, we decided to reduce everything.
Hmm.
And so when we reduced everything, we got rid of the 4-bedroom, 3-bath place we had. We got rid of a lot of clothes that we had as well.
Hmm.
And not only that, we are what they call nomads now. So as you can see, the definition of a nomad is a member of a people who have no fixed residence but move from place to place, usually seasonally and within a well-defined territory.
Hmm.
So right now we're currently in Indiana. When the summer ends, we're going to be in Florida for 5 months. I think we're going to hit South Carolina
We'll
as
hit a
well.
couple of places, but
Yes.
you'll be traveling with us along
Yes.
that journey. But I think it's a great announcement to let everyone know that we are in fact minimalist. And just to speak to the financial
Yes.
aspect of that, that means we're living below our means. We're
Yes.
living below our income. This is what we had, right?
Yeah, so this is I got some pictures of our
This is where
4-bedroom
we
house that we
were.
had as well. And then as you can see here, this is what we downsized to. So we have a camper
Yep.
as well. And then when the season's over with here, like Melissa said, we'll be going to the south, not with the camper, but we have already booked reservations to stay at different locations and just to enjoy life, because nothing is promised to us.
Nothing.
And we have always discussed this type of lifestyle. We always wanted to live it. And now we decided to make it happen, So we thank God for the things that He has been able to do for us, as far as
Absolutely.
providing the opportunity and open up doors where we can travel and live the life that we want to live.
Absolutely. And for all you shoe divas out there, you can do this too. I'm telling you.
Yes, yeah. And as we continue to share our journey, we're going to share with you ways that you can be a minimalist, or ways that you can be a nomad, where you can travel, enjoy the world, and things like that, because they have a lot of remote jobs. And what COVID revealed to a lot of people was, look, I don't have to go in and work a 9 to 5. I can start my own business. I can work for myself. I can educate and mentor and train my kids. So that's what a lot of people have begun to do. So, and this is also kind of a glimpse of the inside of the camper, as you can see right here. So it's just enough space just for us.
Yeah.
And one thing we did find out as minimalists, as we lived in a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, that we didn't even use all the space.
Right. It was just us.
Yes, it was just us. We never used the downstairs basement area. We never used the living room. So we pretty much used the computer room, the bedroom. We had like a spa room and our dining room, because we ate together every night. So
in the kitchen whenever we
the kitchen, whenever we decide to cook. But yeah, and even the backyard, we had a nice, pretty big backyard. And I can tell you, we only used that a couple of times as well. So we're excited about the journey. We're looking forward to sharing the journey with everybody as we go forward and as we move forward. And we're just excited. Melissa, she's working on her nonprofit.
Yeah, and so wait until you talk to Dr. Fatima
Yes,
today.
Dr. Fatima.
Have your questions, because I know you probably have some, because I know we have it, and we can take up the whole show with our lot of questions.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna take up the show.
Right,
but...
right. So do we want to bring her in right now?
Yeah, I don't know. You think she's ready? I know she's been in the back room hiding from us, so I don't know if she's ready or not.
So let me just do her intro. How about that?
I'll let you do that.
All right. So Dr. Fatima Harris is president of Excel Professional Grant Writing and Nonprofit Services. It is a certified women-owned small business company. She is a successful certified grant writer, a nonprofit and for-profit corporate consultant. She's a grant reviewer, a college adjunct instructor, a workshop facilitator, and a recurring radio station guest, and the author of Navigating the Chicago Industry. This Chicago native has worked virtually on site all over the country and is now live with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Fatima Harris.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. How are you guys?
We're good. What about you?
Excellent.
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited. I love this.
We so appreciate you for taking time to come out and just speak to us and speak to our audience, because this is very important, because there are so many people that are interested in nonprofit organizations. So I'm going to get right into the questions.
Right.
So the first question is, let's talk about your backstory. I always like to dig into a little background. So how did you wind up in this nonprofit world that you find yourself and grant writing? How did you get here?
I first started in ministry, helping out in church. We were always supporting the community, the food pantry. We've had food pantries, the homeless programs, and always had to raise money. And so I was over a department, and we were raising money, selling candy. And the one that I got tired of the most was the chicken dinners. And so I was always in a business background, the business industry. And I realized that corporations give donations for nonprofit causes. And that was my first introduction to writing a letter in behalf of my ministry at the time, the 501c3 organization, to receive help and support. And it just enlightened me. And I found out local college had a grant writing class, and it had a nonprofit class, which ironically, years later, I became the teacher of the same classes I went to. So that was my humble beginnings, my finding out. I was always the one that was called on to do flyers for the church, help in the background, make things look a little more, professional in presentation. And I just went from there. I grew, went back to school several times, just to be strengthened in the nonprofit field. So public administration, business administration, leadership and organizational management are where my background lies.
I think it's amazing how small things just grow.
Yeah.
It is just so amazing.
Yes. And I love what I do. I love, if I can give it away for free, I do at times, but and people need it. Organizations need it. I started out helping grassroots organizations. So those small that couldn't afford what I would be worth today, but needed that help. coming in, doing consulting, coming in and working with board members and teams, preparing them with the what we call grant readiness process, because it's one thing to have a 501c3, but are you grant ready? And so that's one of the names of my workshop. Are you grant ready?
Okay.
Now let me ask you this: how hard is it to write a grant? Do it take weeks? Do it take months? And
it depends.
Walk us through the process.
Okay, so it depends on the RFP request for proposal, the application process. So it depends on if it's a small application, which we call mini grants, and that can be like 2 to 3 pages. It could be a letter. Sometimes banks or sometimes small businesses, neighborhood businesses may say, give me a letter in your 501c3. Proof of your 501c3, and it's a letter, but it can be tedious. It can be 25 pages, and each grant maker has its own guidelines. And as just a tip, as a grant reviewer on the other side, we can tell when you're just copying and pasting and just throwing it.
So we can't take it till we make it, huh?
They know it's not real.
We catch you. They're not even addressing us.
Right.
You and we think you, and you the pronoun.
Absolutely. I get it. So I am proud to say that you have definitely helped us get our tax exempt status. Yes, we've got so much to talk about on temporary living.
Yes.
We are actually a tax exempt nonprofit organization. And we will be talking about that. And the name of the organization is iVet Connect. And we are going to be working with Dr. Fatimoh to get women veterans who are in transition, the help and support that they need. And I am excited about that. We just got our letter about maybe a week ago.
Yeah, about a couple of weeks ago.
Well, about 2 weeks ago. So we're excited about that.
And it took a while.
Yeah.
It took almost about a year.
But guess what? They went through it and we had no issue. So Dr. Fatimoh is the one you want to go to when getting your nonprofit started. And it goes to my question. What are some of the key tips when starting your nonprofit? Because there are a lot of people that want to help. They want to support. They've got this idea and maybe they need funding for it in the nonprofit area. So what are some of the tips that you can give us, or some key tips? Yeah.
I'm glad you made the question in that way, because now you made me think about something else.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that have a caring heart and they want to help.
Yes.
I would advise you, before you start the process, to question yourself and see, would you be good as a helper of another organization with your passion? Because it's a lot of work in this. Or are you the leader, or board member, would be a good board member even in that way, because it is a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of your time.
Yes.
So that's something to think about. How your time management will definitely be a part of the process of running and operating a nonprofit organization. So would you be good to volunteer somewhere, or would you be good to lead the pack? And through all the waves and storms at the beginning, lead that pack. So some of the tips to start, did you say to start a nonprofit?
Yes.
Well, wherever your conscience is flowing right now to provide us information.
Okay. And so before you go and complete any documents, before you go and do that process, first of all, it takes planning.
Yeah.
Planning is very important. And also, we suggest now is to have a nominating committee to help you recruit board members. So, and that nominating committee would help out with your plans too. And that's so important. Is to have, like, you're going to help create strategies and help for the public.
Mm-hmm.
So to have that plan in place, and the plan needs to include revenue. How are you going to make money? You still can make money with a nonprofit. Some people ask me, why is it called a nonprofit?
Right.
Are you making money? And people, they need to live. So can they make money? Can they work for their nonprofits? So, yes, you can. To start a nonprofit, after you get your committee in place and you're ready for your documentation, you're starting off with your EIN number with the IRS at irs.gov. I suggest you to look at that SS4 application, and that's going to, that form SS4, it's going to, they have PDF, give you the exact questions that is on that online irs.gov site. And so that kind of help prep you what they're going to ask about. Get your EIN number, get your articles of incorporation from your state.
Yeah.
So the state that you're residing in, the state that you're going to have the nonprofit in. Assuming from that nominating committee, you're selected your minimum of 3 board members, including yourself. I always suggest 5 because it's work.
Right.
A lot of that load off of the president and the other board members, and you guys can help divide that weight of that. And your bylaws, having that in place. Conflict and interest policy is what the IRS will require for a 501c3. Conflict of interest means you're on the board, and a board member, for instance, is a plumber. The organization needs a plumber to fix some plumbing with the facility. Just because that board member is a plumber does not give him or her the right to automatically receive that job, that contract. So you're going to be diligent and do due diligence to find other bids besides that board member. And the board member can bid too, to bid for that. And everything needs to be written in your minutes. If it was approved for that person or in whoever it was. Yes and no. Why? Explain that, because your minutes need to document. Your minutes need to document your processes of that board meeting. So your conflict of interest policy, EIN number, bylaws, and your articles of incorporation is your first steps to incorporate.
Now I had to ask you a question. You talked about, ironically, you talked about board members. I was going to ask you about the board members. Especially as a nonprofit, how do you sustain your nonprofit organization, and how do you protect it from somebody taking it from up under you? I remember an incident in Kankakee about some years ago. A young lady had a nonprofit, and one of the board members really kind of snatched it up from up under her, and she had to go redo her whole organization and get lawyers involved and stuff like that. It was a mess.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good question. What she did was she won the team to her side. If there was a vote, it had to be a vote for her to do that. She won the team to her side. And a lot of the bylaws that I do and others, the positions of the president are perpetual. And so we send it to the IRS. And so we send it to the IRS in that format. Sometimes some boards have where the votings are every 5 years. I do not suggest voting boards to be every 12 months. It makes your organization very unstable.
Yeah, it's like a turnover rate.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
too much of a turnover, and we look at all that. We,
Yeah.
grant makers, like,
Hmm.
beyond my part of assisting as a peer reviewer or a grant reviewer. Um, when they want to come in, if they come in and do an interview or dig a little deeper into the interests of your organization, you don't want to have that turnover. So
Right.
Right.
3 years, 5 years is a good term.
Right.
And
Right.
they have the right to come out of the contract or as a board member, but you want to sustain that.
You,
Okay, yeah,
I,
I was gonna say, if you guys have any questions about your a nonprofit organization, you have any interest, go ahead and put your questions in the chat
yes.
on Facebook, because we can definitely see them. And that's gonna lead me to, I just got a quick question here.
Hmm.
So you see people have nonprofit organizations, like especially in urban areas, they have nonprofit organizations and they're getting these grants, but you see no progress in the community. How is that possible? Because you got, like, in
Yeah.
Chicago, I'm sure it's tons of organizations, but how are they getting away with not doing the job that they've committed to do, and, by the way, have a grant? Now I know that's happening, and they have a grant for it.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that, or what's your opinion on that?
My opinion is grant makers have gotten busier during time. Where once you get approved for a grant, there's a reporting process
Mm-hmm.
at the end of that grant term, and a lot of grant makers are not able. They used to come out. They used to come and visit. They used to, to make sure or to ensure that that client is, or that yeah, that client is actually doing the work, what they say.
Right.
Mm.
A lot. I think that it has gotten to be a load on even the grant makers, and they're
Wow.
giving
Mm.
funding based on the ethics. They're entrusting their funds into nonprofits, and unfortunately, there are a lot of nonprofits that are being fictitious in their reporting,
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
misappropriating. They're getting very cunning in how they are working, and
Wow.
it's hurting the people in the community.
Right. That it's for.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
And before we take our commercial break, I know you had mentioned the IRS about a few times, and so it sounds like it's good to have that relationship with the IRS because my wife always said 3 people you don't mess with: the I, the R, and the S. Yeah, so you mentioned the IRS a couple of times. It seems like it's very important to make sure you have a relationship with them, especially dealing with a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
Yes, and it is. It is. If you have, a lot of times I get questions about once you have been approved for your 501c3.
Uh-huh.
Say 3 years later, your what you reported to them has expanded, or you're changing some of your operations, adding programs or adding services or taking things away, and people ask, like, what do I do? They get kind of fearful because it's the I dot capital R capital S. Why do we do this? Why do we?
You do not mess with.
We start writing little words, IRS. They drill us with that. You
Right.
capitalize us because we are the IRS. Just you have on your letter of approval, you have a representative at the top right that you communicate with.
Yeah.
Call your representative, talk to them about changes. They'll tell you what to do about that. You don't have to, but don't do things on your own that could harm your status.
Right.
Okay.
And I just to we got to go to a commercial break. I wanted to get into it.
Okay. Well, yeah, hold your thought. We
Okay.
got to take commercial break. Bills got to be paid. And then we'll come right back with Dr. Fatimoh Harris.
All right.
All right.
people, when they're trying to really get focused and productive, to ignore the hey bros because they're low priority. Your motivation, create your checklist, and then that's the formula, man.
All right. Welcome back. We're going to bring our guest back in a minute.
Yeah, so that was Design Your Paycheck, Life Traders, and of course, Farm Hill Coffee. And if you would like to advertise, or if you would like to be a guest on the show, it is that simple. Send us an email at farmerandhill@gmail.com. That's farmer and hill at gmail.com.
Coffee is actually, Melissa worked hard on it, getting it ready, and came up with the idea of coming up with our own brand of coffee.
Yes.
So please, you can go to Farm Hill. You can purchase Farm Hill Coffee on Amazon. Right now we are selling like crazy. Melissa do deliveries every Saturday.
I do. I love bringing coffee to people.
Yes, people ain't even got to leave their home.
Where we are. I won't come.
Yeah, she's not traveling the country to deliver coffee.
Yeah, it's a small community of people that I do this for.
Right. So we appreciate everybody's support.
Yeah.
And we're not going to hold up the time because we're going to bring our guests back in. Doctor, you there?
Oh, look, she got her coffee.
She has her coffee.
Oh my God.
It's so good, you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
But we're going to jump back into this LLC, and I'm going to.
Yeah, go ahead.
You told me to hold it.
Go ahead.
All right. So what I'm seeing, as far as I'm understanding, nonprofit is a business, and you need to still be business minded. You need to still bring in revenue. Absolutely. And you need great leadership. So my question is, what is the difference between a nonprofit and an LLC then? Because it seems like it's the same thing.
That's a good question, and that's a question that I often. As a matter of fact, yesterday someone asked me that question as well. When people are thinking of an LLC, they're usually thinking of that protection. from lawsuits,
Right.
protecting. Actually, nonprofits do provide that, even if you incorporate as a corporation, because of the 501c3. It has that type of protection where your board members, if God forbid any lawsuit, that it won't go directly to your board members. It's to the corporation, and that is the main. That is one of the main reasons people ask that question: the LLC versus the nonprofit.
Yeah.
And remember, a nonprofit is different from an LLC or a for-profit entity. That means at the end of the year, if you request $1 million to operate your programs and services and pay your administration from January or whenever your year starts, we'll use January through December. By December 31st, your organization has not made a profit.
Not for profit.
All out. Okay, so you paid everybody. You did everything you needed to do that year, and now we're starting a new year.
Okay. So you're not holding like for our coffee and things like that. We're generating profit, revenue, but it goes until the next year and things like that.
Yes.
We want to stack our dollars. We're not for profit, but the non-for-profit, you want to utilize what you ask for and be done with it.
Yeah,
I try to
nonprofits make money. Nonprofits make money too. They do.
I know. Look at what Susan G. Coleman. We looked up those nonprofits. The president gets $1 million.
Yeah. There are ways for nonprofits. Do you see a lot of ministries or with car washes, bookstores, coffee, cafes?
Yes.
And that those are generating profit that goes back into the nonprofit.
Yeah.
You can have a program, say for instance, a culinary arts program that's teaching students how to cook. They're selling to the public to make, and that money goes back into the nonprofit. So we do want you, when you're completing grant applications, in your planning process before you go to the grant application, how can we make money? How can we sustain? What are we doing with this grant? What are we going to do? Have those plans in place, because when you complete an application and read and they read that the only way you're going to sustain is through this grant, you're going to get denied.
Right. Oh yeah, because they want you to have like everyone's talking about these multiple streams of income. They don't want you to just depend on the grant, because that means because your business or your nonprofit might not exist without it, and they don't want you to be like that. Is that what it is?
So remember your clients that you're serving.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you have a program in place that is helping people to, like recovery programs, and you're helping people, and you close, what happened to your clients? The doors are shut. They go back.
Yeah.
Right.
So grant makers don't want that responsibility. They're putting responsibility on the nonprofits as well.
Right.
Like, how are you going to sustain your organization?
Absolutely.
They like matching funds. Well, if we raise $5,000, can you match our $5,000 to provide this program for the summer or whatever reason you need it? They like that too. People don't know they can do a match. They can request a match.
Oh, wow.
That way you have skin in the game.
Now let me ask you this. I know everybody wants to know, how do grant writers get paid? Do they pay you up front? do they get a percentage of what they awarded? How does this thing work?
That's a great question. The industry, our profession has changed. I heard of back in the day they used to get paid at the end. I gotta feed my kids unless they can live with you guys. Paid up front. We get paid up front, and some people like myself, I do a flex pack. It depends on how long we need to stretch the contract. We do layaway. I do work with my clients. I'll work with them It's a lot because you're getting, and here's the thing, because people, and it's real, because we should not, and cannot, as grant writers, guarantee anything. We cannot guarantee grants. For instance, I was working with the organization. They got approved. They got approved for a program, Digital Divide. 9/11 happened.
Oh.
Got a call. I get the call from the director, the state director. And that is rare. I was like, I got a call from the state director. Usually they'll send you a letter, but he called and apologized and told us that we were approved, but unfortunately their monies had to go to assist the causes of our United States of America.
Right, understandable. Yeah,
that was understandable. And sometimes I've even heard of people, I know from the other side of the table, I've heard people getting denied. Just because you were denied does not mean you didn't qualify. So sometimes if you're like new and you're asking for like $300,000, $100,000,
right?
We want you. I would suggest to start smaller, with a smaller request, to show that you're able and your company is able to manage the monies that you get. That's a big risk for a grant maker. People always say, I need $1 million. Even if you show me a budget, but at your regular job, you're like 35,000. How could you? So we want you to be realistic, and it's okay to start small. It's okay, and small could be $50,000. If small can be $100,000, but make it make sense. And back to, if we get paid, yes, we do get paid. There should be a deposit or upfront fee of something. And like I said, because we don't control how grant makers decide, you're paying for a service.
Right.
And just like your attorney, he might or might not win that case for you. You can write us off though. I tell people, write me off on your IRS. I know a couple of times I called, they was like, hi, Miss Miss Harris. I was like, I didn't know who I was. So write us, we're contractors. You can write us off as a donation to your organization.
Okay.
You donate it to if you're paying out of your pocket, just like, if the company doesn't have it and you have to pay out of your pocket and you need to donate to your organization, that's a write-off.
Okay. That's good So one of the things we know that you've worked at federal level, you've worked the state level as a grant writer, grant reviewer, and so what has been your grant writing success rate? I seen it in your profile, so I want to know if you know.
Right, and I know the viewers want to know.
So I do have I have $30 million in grant experience. That's the sum of everything I've done, and including the grant review, over $10 million in funding. And I don't just do grants. So a lot of times I'm just consulting. I'm doing editing. I'm doing something else. I'm helping somebody else. But that's just in grant writing. Yeah. And grant writing has been thick. It can be thick. And I do encourage you, if you can afford a grant writer, you and your team get together and chop that proposal up. Read that proposal more than one time. Read that proposal more than one time, Santa, because as a reviewer, we can tell if you are doing the ambulance service, of which we don't provide. The ambulance service in our field there's an RFP out. I have a youth program. This RFP is due in 4 days. We're gonna turn it in. And then we get this confusing packet. We probably have to sit it to the side and come back. You want to make yourself a grant calendar. Schedule yourself. So this is July for the world. This is July. Actually, this is like October, November, December. So we work ahead of time. Whatever you're doing this year, whatever you're winding down, this year is winding down.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So you know how holidays get. If you have not submitted if you completed that 1023 application, even if it's on pay.gov, and I always tell people, I suggest to get it in before the holidays, because just like any other job, you know how the holidays get. Who want to work? Are they really working? Are employees really working on the holidays?
So people know how they are in their own job. So nobody, everybody's human. Be like, oh yeah, denied. I don't even feel like
before those holiday seasons. But here's the opposite. I tell people, when it comes to networking, building a relationship with grant makers, isn't a holiday season a good time to say, hey, I just want to introduce ourselves. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. I like it.
Before you turn in grant applications, I stopped doing like cold applications, like nobody know who I am. And those were more rejected because they didn't know us.
Right.
So here's a tip. If a grant maker, this is July, and say for instance, the grant is due in January. Make time to prepare your documentations or your presentation, your meet and greet with that grant maker that you're interested in. Even if it's a store, I want to meet the manager of Ross. And so make an appointment. Don't take up their time. You just want to do a meet and greet. Hi, I'm the president of, and I'm representing our organization. And I just want to talk, let you know that I'm interested in your grant that's coming out. And here is some information about us. Just, put a face to that.
Right.
Before you turn it in.
Because relationships are important.
Yeah.
It really is. And there are more now because they used to say, when I first started, it was like, don't call us. We don't want to see your face. But now we're getting more and more people are bonding, want that relationship. They want to know, how are you? Okay, if we give you this grant, how will other people know that we gave it to you? We're gonna put it in a newspaper. We're gonna have it at our facility, like a plaque on the wall. Or they want you to brag on them. They want people to know that they're giving.
Very quickly, because I know time is winding down. That time goes quick.
I know.
Do you specialize in one type of grant? Do you just do education? Do you do just health, culture, anything, or do you just do it all?
Social services is my main specialty. So social services, where homeless, food pantries, youth, daycare. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have another question. And as far as the resources, now how do you find the resources as far as the grants that's out there, the funding that's out there? Because I'm sure there's thousands of grants that's out there that people don't even know about.
Right.
There are thousands. There are grants that due every day, every week. Grants are due every month. Grants are due. It's just as far as resources, I tell people to start at home first.
Okay.
So within your city, within your town, within your state, grants are due every month. There are foundations in your city, in your state. You can Google them. There are state departments in your state. Each department have a funding.
Yeah. And then Christy asks, what about a cannabis cafe with something like that? Can something like that become a nonprofit?
I would say it depends on the purpose. Is that for people that take prescriptions, and we are having workshops based on
that's great.
Whatever the reason they're getting those prescriptions to help them help them with their cannabis or,
ailment.
It has to be a cause.
Right, a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know. So Christy, we're gonna ask. She said she was asking for a friend. I was asking for a friend about the cannabis. but no. So if we need to get in, I know how to get in contact with you. But tell our audience, our viewers, how they can get in contact with you.
You can get in contact with me on the phone at 877-313 XCEL, XCEL, the number 9235. That's 877-313-9235. I also have a new website I'm just launching. My website is www.drfatimoharris.org. That's Dr. DRFATIMOH Harris, HARRIS.org. I had to learn how to spell that. That is my website. And those are the. And I'm also on Facebook. So if you go type in Excel Professional Grant Writing and Nonprofit Services or Excel Professional Services, I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn under my name, Dr. Fatimoh Harris as well.
Right. And 1 minute. I got 1 minute with you.
Okay.
Let our viewers know about your book. You got one book and another one coming out.
Yep.
Navigating the Grant Industry Handbook. You got to get this. I have been asked over and over for years to put it in writing. So I put it in writing. It has cheat sheets in here from, as a grant reviewer. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I have all kinds of cheats in here, things we're asked. I have the proposal process in here. At the end of every chapter, I'm a teacher. At the end of every chapter is a quiz on that chapter, and it helps you So here, and I have, if you want to pre-orders, I do have 2 other books that will be out by 2022. Starting and Surviving, the Nonprofit Administration Handbook, and I also have 90-Day Sprint, Board and Leadership Workbook. That's a 5-volume set that will be out, and it will help with your quarterly goals. We got to meet those goals. If I step away from a client, a lot of times, or a day, they have they no longer can give for my resources. I come back, I'm calling, and they may have lagged away or something came up. That 90-day sprint is going to help the board. It comes in 5 steps for each board member, and so no one would say I didn't know.
So we can find out all of this information on your website.
Yes, on my website.
Right.
And available on Amazon.
And what we do, we also share the links to our YouTubes as well. People can click on your link, and then they'll be able to go order your book and also go to your website as well.
Awesome.
So we thank you so much.
This has been fabulous.
Yes, great. Great. A lot of great information. Yeah. I know you're going to be working with us over the next few years.
That's right.
So we appreciate your time, and we thank you for coming on our show and just being a blessing to us and our viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate you, and you all be blessed.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
You are.
That was so cool.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I know a lot of people are interested in nonprofit. Like some of the stuff you said, the planning, nominating, getting a nominating committee for your board. It's still a business. You still have to generate revenue. The tips she gave on grant writing, all of that is important, and especially if it's somebody that wants to start their own nonprofit.
All right. Yeah. So let's look at it and see who's going to be our next upcoming guest on. Yeah, so our next guest would be
It's
Mr. John
investor
Harmon.
and Airbnb host, Mr. John Harmon. We can't
Yes,
wait.
and if you look at some of our older shows from Comcast, we did an interview with John, and we
Yeah.
talked about subject 2.
Yeah.
But now John has moved on to
Airbnb.
Airbnbs.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what's going on in his world. So it's going to
Yeah.
be very interesting in the next couple of weeks.
And if you want to look at, he can look at our Facebook page too to find his old show.
Yeah,
When we
you can do it on our
previous-
Facebook and YouTube as
Yeah.
well. Go to our YouTube page. Yeah.
So
as we get ready to close out, as always, we thank God for his unmerited, undeserving favor called grace. For grace is the total absence of any works. You can't work for grace. You can't buy grace. You can't sell it. It is simply what God has given to each and every one of us. Because we believe Christ died for our sins, he was buried, and he rose again the third day for our justification. On behalf of myself and my lovely wife, Melissa, in Contemporary Living, be blessed. Have a good night.